When Leon Ogier suffered a cardiac arrest, he was lucky that Simon Welch was driving past, as his quick response helped to save Leon's life. Having suffered a heart attack already earlier this year, Leon was returning to exercise under his doctor's guidance when he went out on a bike ride a few weeks ago.
We go to the gym twice a week with a cardio team who watch over you, checking your heart rates and blood pressures, all that kind of thing while you're working out. And so I was keen to get on the bike, and I had done probably a week and a half before. So, and I rode both the Saturday and the Sunday the day before. So I did the gym in the week, and this was my next ride on the following Saturday, where the cardiac arrest happened.
So if you can talk us through the situation, because I'll bring you in here as well, Simon, if that's all right. So that morning, how did you feel before you left home, and how far were you cycling? What time of day was it and everything? Okay,
so it was about 9:10 I probably left the house. I live in town, so I'd gone down Fountain Street, around the model yacht pond, and then along the front. So I was probably not even 10 minutes into my ride yet. I understand from the first, from the heart attack, that sort of a warm-up is very important now. Basically, my heart rate was below my working heart rate, if that makes sense. As it was only 95, so I wasn't even in workout zones yet, if that makes sense. What I remember is seeing the boss shelter at the halfway. I remember just coming over really dizzy, really quick. I mean, it was almost instant, and I kind of went, I'll stop just after the bus stop, which is what I did. And then I don't remember a thing.
So, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what were you doing that day? Why were you there?
So I was literally taking my mother shopping, which is really exciting, I know. But then, so I was driving towards town. Leon was sat on the edge of the grass with his bike on his legs. And his upper body was like shaking really badly. So it seemed to me initially that he seemed to be having a fit or some kind of shock or something. So I pulled onto the pavement, stopped, ran out, spoke to him. Asked him if he needed an ambulance. He said yes. Then I noticed his legs were bent in a funny position.
Right, okay.
So I thought maybe he's broken his leg or something, and he's in pain. And he said, I'm having a heart attack. I was very confident. He said, I'm having a heart attack. I've had one before, and I'm having another.
Wow.
And that's when I stopped talking to him and made the call.
Yeah.
Because obviously time matters. So.
And Leon, you don't remember any of this?
No. There's little bits of certain stories that I kind of think, do I remember that? I don't know if it's in my imagination or little bits, but really, if I'm honest, I remember being dizzy and then waking up the next day in hospital.
So you made that 999 call, and as we've heard then, you were talked through what to do next.
Yeah. So
how did that kind of all play out?
It was stressful and very, I was panicking, but it went as well as it could, I guess. So I made the call, told him basically relayed what Leon had told me.
Which was that it was a heart attack at this stage.
So at least that was established, quickly, rather than if I'd got there when he was unconscious and didn't know what the problem was, or if, we just didn't have that communication.
Absolutely.
So that obviously helped. They obviously did what they do and got everyone dispatched. And then she said that she wanted me to basically get somebody to try and find a defibrillator. I would have had to leave Leon.
Yeah.
And I mean, only to walk into the road to flag someone down maybe, or go over to someone that had stopped, but wasn't approaching me, and get them to go look for one. So I think she was trying to look to see where the nearest one was. We pretty quickly established that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's when she started saying, I'll talk you through CPR.
So have you had first aid training?
No, I mean, years ago when I was at school.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
So it was just instinct when you saw Leon then? It was just your gut instinct or your human nature to say...
I didn't know I was walking into someone that was going to have a heart attack. I just assumed that he was in pain or come off his bike or having a fit or something.
Wow, okay.
Which I needed to go and see if he needed help.
Oh, good for you.
And then it led on from there, really.
And so when it comes then to doing chest compressions, you've not done anything like that before?
No. Yeah, so they said to me, put one hand on top of the other and told me whereabouts on his chest, which I kind of know anyway.
Yeah.
And and just basically pump hard.
My name is Rachel Lee and I work for JESOC, the Joint Emergency Control Centre, and I am an operator. So we take calls and dispatch for police, fire and ambulance.
So on this day, the call came in.
Yep.
What happened?
So I'm taking the call, 999 comes in, everything else gets dropped, and he said, I believe he's having a heart attack, or he's saying, I think I'm having a heart attack. So, okay. So I open up the programme that we use, start going down, having heart problems, then he becomes unconscious. So I go to, okay, we're going unconscious, and then it went into cardiac arrest. So as soon as that happens, I'm saying it out loud so everybody else in the room can hear me, and then I start giving instructions, for CPR in order to help, and of course reassuring him that somebody is on the way.
Yeah, so whilst you're reading out these instructions, the emergency services are already on their way. It's happening seamlessly in the background.
Yeah, exactly. So whilst I'm taking the call, I'm speaking to the person, but in the background you've got messages being sent out to get the first responders there. If police are nearby, they're getting sent because they're trained in CPR, etc.
Yeah.
And they've got defibs as well. And then fire will sent out as well, and of course ambulance. So everything all gets sent out, all in the back of the room, all at the same time. So sometimes police will turn up first, and people are like, "Hold on, it's a medical thing. Why are police here?"
But you're the first voice. So what is that like? Because obviously you've got to keep calm, and you've got to keep the person making the call calm, especially in a life-saving situation like this.
I think it's one of those things where you know what's happening and you just automatically go into, I'm a very calm person, and just give the instructions. It's just, I think it's one of those things that some people have, and you just, luckily in JESOC, a lot of people are, as soon as something happens like this, you just go into automatic calm mode. These are the instructions I'm giving. And you need SAM card because you don't want the other person to start panicking or worrying about something. We've got really good training, so we know that if this happens, we know exactly where to go on our system. It will talk us through how to give CPR on the phone. We're all trained in it anyway, so we have an idea of what has to happen. But we're giving the instructions on the phone to the person, nice clear instructions. And most of the time people are very good at following because you're taking control of what's happening. They don't really have to think about what do I do next, because you're there saying to them, right, you need to lie them down, you need to do this, you need to do that.
And then once the emergency services arrive, presumably they take control of the situation.
They do,
and you're cut off.
Yes, and that's it. And then
and you carry on with your work day.
Yes.
So you carry on taking phone calls and dealing with other members of the public. And I'm guessing a lot of the time you don't really know what happens next.
No. So it is absolutely lovely to hear that when somebody has had a good outcome, and
to be able to meet them. And,
yes, exactly, because it happens occasionally, but not that often. So it is absolutely lovely to meet somebody that you think, I was on the phone to help them or to help the person who called me in order to give the life-saving instructions, etc., for this person to get through. So it is lovely.
Yeah, and as you said, so you obviously have first aid training as part of your professional role. Any advice to anyone else?
As long as what I would suggest, even if you can just get CPR training and defib training, that's perfect. Even if you never use it, you know that if something happens, you have that knowledge. And I mean, even if you do it and you don't do it for years and something happens, you will still have that in the back of your mind of what's going on. I mean, if you phone us, we will talk you through it. So if you're not sure and you think, I'm not sure what I'm doing, we will talk you through it. We will tell you not to worry. Some people are very concerned about how they do the CPR. Something is better than nothing.
Well, Rachel was talking Simon through performing CPR on Leon. PC Alex Hearn and PC Lisa D'Souza and PC Phil Graves and Jessica Clark were nearby, having just finished dealing with another call-out that morning.
We just passed the halfway. Phil and Jess were actually just behind us, and I was crewed with another officer, Lisa D'Souza. We arrived literally seconds before Jess and Phil, and Lisa's jumped out the car, immediately run over, taken over from a member of the public with the chest compressions. I've run to the back of the car, got out the defib. Phil and Jess have turned up.
I carry a med kit with oxygen in and all kinds of stuff for improving airways and stuff like that. So I could see Alex had the defib. So I went over, cut his expensive cycling gear off, and then we got the defib on, and then while Lisa and Jess were doing the chest compressions and just keeping his airway open and trying to improve that.
So in terms of when the call came in then, so you were already returning from another call, you said. Did you know what you were then being dispatched to?
I think we were told it was...
Told heart attack.
Heart attack
and then it turned into a cardiac.
Okay.
So then we knew we'd be turning up and having to do CPR and stuff.
Okay.
We were at Sally Corner, so it took us seconds to get.
So when you turn up into situations like that, and obviously from everything else I've heard, it then escalated, it then became apparent it was cardiac arrest and a really quite serious situation.
So I think it was identified he had agonal breathing. I think it was Lisa and Jess's first time giving chest compressions, and they've done an amazing job. And it was the first time I've initiated shock on a defib. And when you hear that on the defibrillator saying shock advised, you know that it's serious.
So you're trained for these situations, but obviously there still has to be a first time.
Train on a mannequin.
You don't actually see the shock being delivered, so actually seeing him
jump up.
Yeah, it's that forceful, is it?
Yeah,
So,
just like in the films.
It's hard to describe, really.
Yeah.
You just
Don't really think about it.
yeah.
do what you do in training and just do your best.
I think it's only afterwards when we hand over to ambulance that it actually then sinks in. What we've just done. In the moment it was very just do it, do what you're doing, focus on that.
I think it was the relief when he started breathing again, the amount of relief you could see on their faces, because the survival rate in these instances is so low.
And in cases like this, how often do you actually find out what the result is?
Very rare. It was nice of Leon to get in contact with us and let us know how he was, and it's great to see him so alive and well.
And likewise then, how did you guys feel then, finding out then this positive result, which is nice in itself to know?
Yeah, we were on a high really, weren't we?
Yeah, we were.
You get an adrenaline rush, and when you come away from it, it's like, wow, we've just done that.
And
it's just a shock, I think. I think we go to so many that unfortunately don't have such a positive outcome. And actually to find out that he is, well, and he's now up and walking and living a normal life. Yeah, really good feeling.
While the police officers were dealing with the situation with Leon, the St John Ambulance emergency crew were en route to the halfway. Emily Bodans was the first paramedic to arrive, closely followed by retained ECA and community first responder Ben Nichols. Community first responder Rob Jordan was also on his way, along with paramedic officer Ross Senior, who was St John shift duty officer on that day. Yesterday, at a meeting between all of those involved, Emily told me how the situation unfolded on her arrival at the halfway.
A lot of the time we know what the call is. In this situation, I think it started off as Leon wasn't responding, but it wasn't a confirmed cardiac arrest. And it progressed en route to the scene. And we found out that police had been doing CPR and shocked the patient. And then when we arrived, he was actually his heart was beating, but yes, he deteriorated while we were with him, and we treated him on scene. Yeah.
Okay, so you genuinely don't know what you're turning up to then?
Not all the time. No. It's it comes as a surprise, but it's that's what we're trained to deal with.
Absolutely. So when you got the call then, and you said you were around the corner, you were down on Victoria Avenue.
Yeah.
You also can't have known what you were turning up to when you responded.
No, because initially the call came through as unconscious. Then
en
route it upgraded to a cardiac arrest. I was at football practice with my son, 500 metres away, and I came on scene probably at 10 seconds after the crew arrived, and I took over. Initially, Leon's heart was beating, but he soon deteriorated and went back into cardiac arrest again, and I took over chest compressions.
We've been hearing, and I've heard prior examples to today as well, about how it is so important, time critical actually, with the defibrillator in cases like this.
Yeah.
So you not knowing that the police were there, I mean, it wouldn't have made any difference. You have to respond that quickly regardless.
Exactly, yeah. You don't know who's on scene until you turn up. From an ambulance perspective, I could hear the crew
was en route, but whether or not bystander CPR was in progress or not won't be communicated unless that information is known.
Okay, and Rob, if I can bring you in here. So for you, the day was starting off with breakfast.
Yeah.
But you quickly got the call out and jumped into action. What's it like then walking into a situation?
It's very different call per call, because quite often I'm first on scene because of where I live.
Okay.
And that's the whole purpose of the community first responders, is potentially to be first on scene with the defibrillator and the BLS tools that we carry. On this occasion I was last one there, so I became kind of the kit collector and put away, and so that was, everyone else was already doing what they needed to do, and there was no point me trying to intervene in that stage. I just kind of picked up all the bits and pieces. So it varies quite massively from what we do. But in the 10 years I've been doing this, you definitely, whatever point you turn up, it distinguishes exactly what you're going to be doing.
Okay, I mean, these situations always sound so dramatic to people on the outside who aren't involved in the life-saving situations. Is it dramatic when you walk into it? Is it chaotic, or is there a calm kind of presence from all of your colleagues that are already working on the patient? What's it like?
I think after doing this for 10 years, you kind of walk into everything as calm as you can, because you need to be. If there's going to be any heightened panic or anything, you tend to leave that till afterwards and deal with that later. When you walk in, you need to be as calm as possible and treat the situation.
Okay, and then Ross, but it's so important for everyone, if we can, to learn those skills.
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of the recognition of a cardiac arrest is really, really important.
Yes.
And then as soon as you recognise cardiac arrest, what you do, so good early CPR, good quality CPR, asking for help early, getting an ambulance, and our first responders and co-responders responding as quick as we can. And then if there is a defibrillator available, attaching that and following the instructions. They're really easy to follow and they talk you through it.
And what are the signs then of a cardiac arrest?
So cardiac arrest is where someone's heart has either entirely stopped or it's in a rhythm that we would say isn't supporting their body. So somebody who is in cardiac arrest will not be conscious.
Yep.
So somebody who's collapsed, who's not conscious, and they won't be breathing.
And in terms of the defibrillator then, we hear so much about them now. I mean, they genuinely are life-saving bits of kit. Do all of the crew and first responders have them?
Yes, absolutely. So our community first responders all have defibrillators. Our co-responders, many of them carry defibrillators, and all of our frontline ambulances have got defibrillators as well. Anybody can use a defibrillator. You don't necessarily need to have done training in it. Training certainly helps, and we would encourage anybody to undertake training. But the defibrillators in the community, they talk to you.
Okay.
So as soon as you turn them on, they will read instructions.
Right,
There's
okay.
clear instructions on the packaging. And if you're in doubt, you shouldn't be scared of using it. If you really think that you need to use one, then just follow the instructions. And also, when you phone 999, the call handlers will be able to speak you through instructions.
Once the emergency services had all arrived at the halfway, Simon had become a witness to the ongoing efforts to save Leon's life. But it was his initial actions that really did save Leon's life, as he made that first 999 call and started performing CPR. Simon said he'd now encourage anyone else to take any first aid training they can.
Yeah, I'm literally standing pretty much over him with a bit of distance, obviously. They work together really well, and obviously their training paid off.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, it was a relief when they turned up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bit that stands out to me. St John's, obviously, they're great, and that's not to be unnoticed. They do what they do every day. But for the police, well, it's not their primary role. They come in and do that and work together so well. I mean, it was just reassuring, I suppose.
And the officers said they were probably at Salary Corner, so when they got the call and then to get along at that time of day on a Saturday would have been quite quick.
I don't know how long it was, but it felt forever for somebody to come.
And did you two guys know each other before this?
No.
You'd never met, so it wasn't that you spotted Leon and thought,
No.
oh, I know him, I'll see if he's all right.
No, I just saw somebody and saw he was in pain and had to stop, basically, and it went from there.
And then how soon did you find out actually that he'd survived and was okay?
So leaving that scene was horrible because I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. And I always thought I'd be making some kind of contact with one of the emergency services, giving it some time, obviously, to find out what the outcome was, or if I could find out even.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't know if they'd share that information. But his sister put an ad on Facebook, good old social media, and then somebody saw that, I didn't, and notified me, passed on my details to them, and his sister phoned me on the Sunday Because somebody has a cardiac arrest, and you think, well, the next day they're not going to be conscious enough to even talk. So to hear the next day that he's talking and breathing and he's happy, and it's going to have they were already, you could tell for them, his mum was in the background on the phone, and you could tell the relief in their voices was huge. And not to mention the gratitude that they gave to me, of course, but
I think it's so important how quick he was there doing CPR, and then obviously the police officers coming in that time, because obviously all the time that's going on, there's no oxygen going to the brain, so there could be a completely different outcome. I might have survived, and if they'd find a brain in this head, that could have been damaged. So but. Yeah, I woke up the next day, knew exactly where I was before I'd opened my eyes. I knew I was in ICU, and that's down to Simon and the whole emergency team. It's hard to put into words how thankful you are to this man, and to everybody else that's here.
And for your mum, your sister, your family, everyone making that phone call to Simon on the Sunday, when they would have still been so worried about you, but so relieved as well.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. It's not just me, and that he saved. I've got 2 young daughters who like me most of the time, and a son who lives in the UK, which was quite nice. He didn't live far from Southampton, so he come and visit me every day. And there's just so many people, so many friends, so much family that would have been devastated if I wasn't here, if I hadn't pulled through. So
and you were following all the advice, which you're still doing because you're back in the gym already.
It's crazy. I mean, it's very light, but they watch over you the whole time. And they're checking your heart rates all the time, and obviously you've got them on your watches as well now. So I mean, I constantly look at this thing all the time. But it's very progressive, let's say. So it's not going to be I don't think I'll be on the bike as quick as I was last time, but the gym side of things, nice and easy. We're getting there.
And Simon, in terms of seeing Leon then, so you've met up, been for dinner, got to know the family. What was that like then for you? As you said, you had that phone call from his sister with his mum in the background, but then you actually met Leon as well.
Yeah, it's just rewarding to see him, healthy, really. Yeah. That's all you need. Is, if it was the other way, if it'd gone the other way, and I'd have been questioning myself and what I did. Did I do everything I could have done? What if I'd had some training? Could I have done things better? Whereas, those questions are still there, but with a positive outcome, it's...
Well, it sounds like you did do everything you could do, because you stopped and you jumped into action. So would you do it again?
Well, without doubt, you've got to help somebody, haven't you? If somebody's distressed, you need to help them. So it doesn't matter who they are.
Even Leon.
Even me, yeah.
Although if I'd known this was going to happen, maybe not.
No, but you've formed a friendship, obviously, and there's that gratitude and respect that we can all see today. Yeah. So you would do it again, and you'd encourage others to.
Definitely, Get some first aid training, which is what I'm going to do. At least CPR and defib training, I think, and then because that's the primary lifesaver, really. Yeah. And then just if you see it, just do it and just have a go. And you can't be any worse if you just walk past. Do you know what I mean? If you try your best, that's all you can do. Okay. And I would have done that regardless. So, regardless of whether I had someone on the end of the phone or whatever, I would have just done what I could.